Hello, hello, Hare Krishna, Hare Bol. Wow, it's been forever. And this is not going to be a shorty today, friends. This is going to be, I'm having a guest on the podcast, a very special guest. Um, I will introduce him in a moment. Just wanted to take a moment to let you know that I'm back from India. It's been about 3 months since my last podcast. So I'm back in the groove. And back in the bhakti groove. And we've got uh, I will talk a bit about my trip and everything that's happened. Lots has happened in my shorty, but now we're going to have a guest. It's a special guest named Prananath Das. He is an active member of the Bhakti Recovery Group, a very cherished member. He offers service. He's got some great recovery, a really inspiring story, and I couldn't resist to have him on the show. This is what we do here. We share experience, strength, and hope and try to carry the message of Bhakti 12-step recovery to whoever would like to receive it. So with no further ado, Prananath Das, welcome.
Hare Krishna. Thanks, Shiva. Thank you for having me.
I'm very honored that you came, and I'm really happy you're here. So, I'd like to just start off by saying, first of all, thank you in public for the service that you offer for the Bhakti Recovery Group. As a chairperson, I always love your meetings. You always keep it really real. And for your just being steady and sharing your recovery with those who seek. That's how it works.
Well, thank you
So
for giving us a place to do that. And to not only talk about 12 steps, but to talk about Bhakti and to merge the two, because that was something that I know I needed and I know a lot of other people did too. So thank you.
yeah, before we go into your story, how did you hear about the Bhakti Recovery Group?
So I was listening to a lot of 12 step speaker tapes from like Alcoholics Anonymous on YouTube. And because I'm a bhakti yogi, just one day your Shorties podcast came across as something that I might want to listen to. And then in the comment section, like the explanation of what I'm listening to, it said the Bhakti Recovery Group website. So I listened to your podcasts and then I showed up at a meeting one day.
So you listen to the podcast and now you're on the podcast. That's so
Yeah.
cool. I love
Yeah.
that.
And I know that a lot of people come from like other podcasts and things like that and other means, but I came straight through this podcast. That's how I found the Bhakti Recovery Group. So
Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that actually. That's really cool.
yeah.
Oh, I love that. And now you're here. Ah. So, so I would, because we love to share our experience, strength, and hope, and our experience through the 12-step, 12-step process and through the bhakti process. Part of what we do traditionally in the 12-step world is we share our stories. We tell our stories, we share our stories, and we do it in such a way that it inspires others to do the same and also to not feel alone anymore. Often when we go to a meeting at first, it's really intimidating, and you sit there with a bunch of strangers and you have people like talking about stuff that you would never talk about with even the closest friend, and it's really a special thing, and I think you'll agree with as I will that the 12-step program saved our lives, and I know that because you've said that. So what I would like
Definitely,
to
definitely.
yeah. So how is it for you? So tell us just a little bit about, first of all, how you got into drugs and alcohol and how you like sort of navigated through that. how you got through that and how you found recovery. And then, of course, how you found bhakti.
Okay, so when I was growing up, I was born with a birth defect, and even from the first day at kindergarten, they kept me outside the class, and they told the other kids uh, my given name is Justin. They said Justin's different. Be careful of Justin. You don't want to hurt Justin. And then they brought me into the class, and I didn't know that. One of my classmates told me years later, but I always knew that I felt different, and like so, even from day one, excuse me, day one at school, I was treated differently. So I had that, and then I went through some abuse in my like 10, age like 12, 13. And then I just was looking for a way to fit in. My parents started to break up around the time I was like 14. So my
Mm.
friends were doing drinking and smoking pot, and so I tried it, and very quickly it was like it was like my first spiritual experience. I thought that like this is what everyone's been trying to keep from me. This is the way you're supposed to feel. This is the way life is supposed to be. And I very quickly started doing it abnormally. I was the first person to want to do it on a weekday. I also started
Are we talking about heroin or smoking weed?
smoking
Okay.
weed, just smoking weed and alcohol. And I did those things, and then I experimented with psychedelics like LSD and mushrooms. Um, I started to go to concerts and festivals, and um, I started to follow Bob Weir from the Grateful Dead around, and I I,
So you were
I
a
was
deadhead. You were a
yes.
deadhead.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I saw Bob Weir 55 times.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Yeah.
my condolences. I know you loved him so much. He just passed away recently.
Yeah, but the funny thing about that is though is that when he passed away, I'm so removed from that life. People started messaging me saying, "Oh, Bob Weir died, Bob Weir died." And those relationships are so one-sided. Like Bob Weir didn't know me, Bob Weir didn't love me. Krishna does.
Mm,
And like that's one of the things about bhakti. It's like that changed my life is like my whole life was always one-sided, me trying to give devotion to these wrong things, right? So yeah,
mm,
condolences to all the deadheads that Bob has passed on, yes, but like the, it was a waste of my life. He didn't know I was there, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But but I just started having a lot of problems. I started getting arrested, you know, started ruining relationships, started ending up in jail, started ending up in rehabs, started ending up in 12-step rooms in my late teens, early 20s. And I'm 44 now, and I've got my sobriety is October 2nd of 2020.
Woohoo!
Yes, thank you. And until then, in my 20s and 30s, it was like just like a revolving door of trying to get sober, trying to stay sober, trying to worship Krishna, trying to be a bhakti practitioner, but always by myself, and never like taking direction from anyone, never getting a sponsor, never being around a sangha. And I would always backslide because I just didn't have the support that I needed, and I wasn't able to allow myself to open up to support either, and so it just
Mm.
didn't work. And then once I did, then I was able to see a transformation in my life and in my thinking.
When was your first meeting? When did you like walk into your first meeting?
Wow, I was 19. I was in a halfway house in Binghamton, New York, and yeah, I was 19, and I was in a halfway house, and I went to my first meeting, and it was very much surreal because all the people that I was around were telling me that I didn't belong there, that like I didn't have a problem because I had only like done pot and psychedelics and tried cocaine. Like I wasn't like a I had never done opiates at that point or anything. So like I ran with that. Like my problem was just that I got caught. My problem was that I made a bad decision and stole something. It wasn't the drugs because I wasn't on any real drugs. It was just pot and alcohol. Those aren't real drugs. Like, but really that wasn't true. But I
Do you
didn't
feel
know.
like that was like opiate elitism? Like I find I've seen that a lot at meetings. I'm
Yes.
guilty of that as well. The hell are you doing here? You're smoking weed. You don't need to be here.
Yeah, yeah, oh
That's
yes, oh yes, oh yes. There was even a marijuana anonymous meeting in Ithaca, New York, that I wanted to visit. And it's been there for a long time. It still is there. And no one would go with me. No one, because they're like, that's not even a drug. And it's like, but it was, but it quickly produced all the negative things that opiates would produce later on in life, just not to the severity and the degree, but still, like I stole to get pot. I spent the majority of my income on pot. I had to sell pot because I smoked it, as my sponsor would say, alcoholically. I had to do it all day, every
yeah.
day. First thing I did when I woke up, it was and like I also had to do stronger forms of it too, like dabs and hash and edibles, and like I just was never happy with just pot. It was crazy actually.
So, that's really an interesting point. And this is something that, we at the Bhakti Recovery Group, a drug is a drug and addiction is addiction, no matter how it manifests. It really doesn't matter, especially in our space at the BRG. But I think it's interesting that you have that experience of using weed like a junkie. There's like, and you have the experience of doing both. I know a lot of people who are just like weed heads and never really got into being, into heroin, and a lot of heroin people who never really got into weed or never really was a problem for them. But you experienced life with both of those addictions. And it's, of course, um, they're both totally detrimental to spiritual life. That's without saying.
Oh yes.
Um, but also to just regular emotional and material life, it's detrimental. And usually heroin gets a little bit more ugly than the pot, but generally, what did you notice in your addictive behaviors and as far as like internally go? What was the difference between those quote unquote hard drugs and the non-drug as weed?
Honestly, besides the physical side effects of the opiates later on in life, everything else was the same. If I would worry about where I was going to get more, when I was going to get more, how I was going to get more. Um, you know, the difference is if you steal $20 from your mom's wallet as like a teenager or someone in their 20s, right? Um, the chances of getting caught or getting in trouble are a lot less. Whereas with opiates, $20 isn't even going to do enough to make me feel better. So
Yeah, it's not even going to get you out of bed in order to get it. Yeah.
yeah. So like,
Mm.
but internally, the feelings of anxiety, the feelings of like not even being able to go to the grocery store without smoking a joint, like to waking up and reaching for the bong, like not even being able to like do anything without like with there was no sobriety. It was I had to be on something. And then if I didn't have it, I would always just drink alcohol because I could just go to the store and get that. And
Mm.
it also very quickly became something that I couldn't afford. So I started selling pot. And then once I started selling it to be able to smoke as much as I wanted to, it put me around these people who have these other drugs. And that's how I got into opiates is I was buying
Wow.
pot to sell and my friend had some Vicodin. And he's like, oh, why don't you try this? And, you know,
Thanks, friend.
yeah, within
Thanks,
months.
friend. Sorry.
No, I get
What?
it. And the funny thing is though, as I feel like when we're in those low states of consciousness and of living and we offer somebody something, I know I've offered people things, and like I didn't understand the damage that I was doing. I really thought I was helping them have a better time. I really did.
Mm.
And like it's such a twisted disease. It really is. And but yeah, I went from Vicodin to Oxycontin. And then, I would pride myself on I've never done heroin. I've never done heroin. I'm only on pills. I'm only on pills. And eventually there weren't any. And someone said, "Do you want to feel better? Do this." And I did heroin. And at first it was like, "Oh, this is way better. It's cheaper. I don't need as much." But then, as it creeps up on you, it takes over. And then fentanyl came out and that changed everything too. A lot of my friends died and
Did you get into the fentanyl thing or not?
oh yes, oh yes. Right now on the street, all you can get is fentanyl. You
Yeah,
can't.
I'm almost 30 years clean and sober. I missed that.
Yeah, yep, yeah.
I
No,
missed it. Thank
I
God. I'd be a dead duck. That's for sure.
yeah,
I'd be
yep.
dead.
When I stopped, um, it was pretty much almost impossible to find heroin. Everything had fentanyl in it, at least. And that's what my doctor at rehab told me too. He said, "We see people come in here and all they have in their system now is fentanyl. It's like it's almost impossible." And one thing I never did, I never used a needle. I was scared. I knew that I was the type of addict that would die.
Mhm.
So I always just sniffed it. Um, and I mean, I have over 30 friends who have died from this disease, like easily over 30. And yeah, so like when I came into recovery, it was just because like I was just so sick and tired of my life falling apart no matter what I did. And because I had that addiction to pot too, even through my heroin addiction, I would smoke pot. People would be like, "Why do you have pot all the time?" And it was just like it was just a crutch that I used my whole life.
It's like I've got my heroin addiction completely under control with weed.
Yes, 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 exactly. But
So
yeah,
what was your bottom? Did you have like a specific bottom where like I mean some of us have gradual bottoms, some of us have like burning bush bottoms. What was your bottom? What was the
I would
bottom for you?
well, I I had gotten sober for like I don't know a few months, and I got off opiates, and then I had tried methamphetamine, and I did that for like 2 or 3 years. And during that time, like I quickly ended up homeless. I ended up like living on the street, and I ended up being homeless for almost 3 years.
Bro,
And
so you got on the meth bus as well?
yeah, yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah,
Oh my
yeah. Because I
gosh,
knew I
I'm
couldn't do
sorry.
opiates. So like the big book talks of AA talks about the great obsession is to somehow, some way control and enjoy it, right? To find a way to
Mm.
control and enjoy it. And so I knew that opiates were not a way I could control and enjoy it. So I tried everything. I tried cocaine, I tried crack, I tried meth, I tried MDMA, Molly. I tried almost every substance. K2.
Trying to fill that God-sized hole.
Yes, yes, and yes, and trying to find a way to have my cake and eat it too.
Absolutely.
To be
Absolutely.
intoxicated, but to be like
And to
responsible.
dodge all of the consequences. That was me.
Exactly.
The
Yes,
formula
exactly.
is I'm trying to find the formula of using without consequence. That's
Yes, yeah,
it.
no, that's exactly what it was. I'm like, this is gonna be the
Yeah.
substance. When K2 came out, the spice, I don't know if you heard about that, but it was like this
Yeah,
like
I was working in a group home and I had a lot of kids coming in there smoking spice.
yes. So I thought that was the answer. Because like this doesn't even make you pee dirty. This is gonna be the way for me to control and enjoy it. It really and it took me down too. Like every single thing I tried took me down. Uh, so when I came in to recovery, I had been so sick and tired of just. I noticed that I was just destroying all the relationships in my life, even though I didn't want to. I hadn't talked to my father in years. My aunts and uncles I hadn't talked to. I hadn't talked to my brother in several years. The only person that I still talked to was my mother, and it was just like all my friends, everyone. I was just hurting everyone around me, and not intentionally either. It's just the when life unfolds in addiction, it unfolds in a selfish and self-centered manner, and I step on the toes of
Mm.
my fellows, and they retaliate. So all of a sudden, like I couldn't have any relationships. So then I,
Mm.
so then I went to a detox, and when I was in the detox, I ended up, getting sober for a while, and then I had one relapse after 8 months. I ended up taking a bunch of antidepressants to try to like numb my feelings, and
Mm.
I ended up overdosing on them and ended up in the ICU. And during that time, uh, when I woke up in the ICU, I I knew that I needed to stay sober, and when I woke up, the desire to use was totally removed. It was actually like a big miracle. And that was October 2nd of 2020, and I've been sober ever since.
So what did you do after that? So you woke up after the overdose. Was this an intentional one?
No, it was just that I had just been doing these pills to like try to like get some type of euphoria, and I just didn't, as a
Okay.
good addict, I didn't realize how many I had done, and because I wasn't feeling them because they're not supposed to make you feel a certain way, but I was just
Oh my
my
God.
my addiction was so bad that I knew I couldn't do any of these other substances that had ruined my life, but I just didn't want to feel what I was feeling. You
It's
know,
like
my
if one pill is supposed to fix me, maybe if I take six of them, maybe if I
Yes,
take
exactly.
20, my life
Yeah,
is going to be great.
yes, yes.
So so you woke up and then after that you started going to meetings. I'm
Yeah, yeah,
assuming.
yeah. Yeah. Because I had been going to meetings before that, and I had been like, trying to live in a bhakti centered way. And so when I woke up in the ICU after the relapse, I called my sponsor right away, and he said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to get back on the wagon. I want to do this the right way." And one thing that I learned from that experience too was that I needed to talk about what was really going on with me, and not just like talk about the good things or what I saw as positive, that I needed to talk about the real issues, like the day-to-day things that were piling up on me that I just like avoided. And
Like the bills that were piling up, the things you haven't paid, all that
yeah,
kind of business,
yes, or
life on
just this
terms.
life on life terms. Yeah, just the stress of just the stress of having healthy relationships that I'd never had before. The stress
Mm.
of, my girlfriend or the kids or my family, or the stress of the negative self-talk that I told myself because of years of addiction, right? And then
Mm.
finally being at such a low vibration when I got sober, such a low state of consciousness that like I was so hard on myself, and I felt like I should be somewhere where I'm not. I should have a job. I should have a house. I should have all these things, right? But really, like, it was okay. I was where I was supposed to be, but I needed to talk about what was going on because it wasn't the big things that would make me relapse. It was all those daily things that I just kept hidden and didn't talk. Oh, it's
Mm.
fine. It's not affecting me. That would end up getting me in the long run.
So so you start going to a meeting, start working a program. Um, when did you realize that a higher power, or was there a point, not when, but I'm assuming that, but I want to let you answer that. When was there a point, or if there was a point where you realized, okay, I'm working a program, I'm clean and sober, I've done all the steps, I'm talking to my sponsor, I keep talking to my sponsor, I go to meetings, I keep fellowship. When did you start to realize that you needed something deeper? Did you needed a more clear understanding of a higher power and what that could do for you?
Okay, so I'll backtrack a little bit. Um, in 2007, I was sitting in a jail cell. and I cried out to God. I was raised Christian. And I said, God, I know you're there, but I don't know how to connect with you. Please show yourself to me. And within a month, through a series of just random things, this GD teacher at a rehab handed me a Bhagavad Gita that was her brother's. And it was actually an original 1970 um, Bhagavad Gita hardcover that was from like Prabhupada's words as a
The
Bhagavad Gita.
1972 version. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I read that cover to cover, and and then answered all the questions that I had about God, and I knew that that was the way. But from then until 2020, when I ended up getting sober, well, until about 2019, because I had those 8 months sober, I would try to live in a bhakti way, and I would try to live in a 12-step way when I would have these periods of maybe a year sober or 2 years sober. But I didn't surrender my own will, and I didn't take the suggestions. They're not really suggestions of what people were telling me to do, but they call them suggestions because I don't like to be told what to do, right? But I didn't do what
Yeah,
the program
it's the
called for.
suggestion of wearing a parachute when you're jumping out of a plane. It's about
Yes,
that kind of it's that kind of
yes,
suggestion.
yes. It's a suggestion to wear your seatbelt or you're going to go through the windshield
Yeah,
if
the
you get in
windshield. Yeah,
it. What? Yes, but but yeah. So I didn't do those things. So when I woke up in the ER, and I called my sponsor. He said, "All right, when you get out, we got to do some work." And the first thing we did was we went back to step one, and I realized that I never did step one. I never admitted to my innermost self that there was
so
no
let's
way
just
to
oh,
control
step
and
one.
enjoy.
What is step one?
Step one is we admitted we were powerless over our addictions and that our lives had become unmanageable. Right. So
Right.
in AA it says we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become manageable. In NA it says we were powerless over narcotics and our lives had become unmanageable. Whatever it was, right? I
And in BRG, we say powerless over
our
our
our addictions and narcos,
unassociated
associated
behaviors.
behaviors. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it's all. So I had never done step one. I had gone to step two, and I thought that I had done step one. Like I knew that I was powerless, but at some point I'd always want to take back my power. I know I'm powerless right now, but let me show you how I'm going to be powerful, right? So when my sponsor explained it to me in a different way, and that's why I always say I can't control and enjoy it, because that's when I finally admitted myself what step one was, that there's no way for me to control and enjoy drugs and alcohol. If I'm in
Mm.
control, I'm never as messed up as I want to be. I'm always miserable until I can do it again, because I'm just trying to prove that I don't need to do it every day. But on the days I don't do it, don't come around me or I'm going to bite your head off. And then
Mm.
if I'm doing it as much as I want, then everything's out of control and all bets are off. I don't even know what's going to happen. And that's when I'm going to end up in jails and institutions and maybe even dead, you know? Um, and I had never been to the hospital before for drug use. So the fact that a non-narcotic substance put me basically in a coma, um, that just was like, okay, man, like, what are you gonna do now? Like, you've tried every single way to do it. What are you gonna do? And I was finally willing to admit to myself that there was just no way to do it. And once I admitted to myself that, then I was free to explore the world of 12 steps. And
Mm.
luckily, because I also had been trying to be a bhakti practitioner, Krishna, by his mercy, brought a temple 1 hour away from where I lived, to a place called Elmira, New York. He brought a Paranitya temple there. And so I was just started going to meetings, and I would go to Elmira when I could. And so I finally had the association of other devotees, and I had the association of people in recovery. And slowly my life started to get better. And I just embraced the program. I did what I needed to do on the 12 step side, and I did what I needed to do on the bhakti side. And for me, the merging of those two things was very important because they're both service oriented. They're both,
Mhm.
thinking about others before I think about myself, thinking about how I can add to the stream of life rather than take away from it. Both concepts that were very foreign to the way I was living in my addiction.
That's wonderful. So did you, so when you started to be around devotees, did you notice, let's say, okay, I'm going to say this on both ends. Had you experienced that once you started to hang around with devotees and started to do devotee things, had you noticed sort of a difference when you went to regular meetings and hanging out with just regular 12-step fellowship? And did you notice also while you're with devotees any kind of also differences? And I don't mean a difference in a huge negative way. I just mean differences or differences in where maybe it could be uncomfortable for you, that it became uncomfortable in some way.
Just for me, just so the listeners know, I am a devotee of Paramahamsa Sri Swami Vishwananda, and the Bhakti organization that I'm part of is called Bhakti Marga. And so when I went there, um, Swami Tulsidas is the Swami that runs the temple in Elmira, and he had explained to me that basically there's a glass ceiling that you can see that you need to do more work spiritually, but you do all this work and you get to that glass ceiling and you can't go any further, and you need the spiritual master to reach down and pull you the rest of that way. So for me,
Mm.
the 12-step program had gotten me to that glass ceiling where I could see that I needed to go further, but I couldn't do it on my own. And so then the bhakti, the devotees were helping to have that grace flow into my life where the spiritual master could pull me the rest of the way. So for me, I was very open with the devotees about my life, about my situation, about my struggles, um, to the point where they understood what was going on, but I couldn't talk to them about it like I do with people in 12 step. It wasn't like I
Mm.
was it wasn't like I would tell them about all these things that happened on my daily life, but I knew that they understood where I was coming from and that they would give me some tools I needed, and that the 12 step was giving me some. But it was very uncomfortable because I felt at some point like at regular meetings I wasn't really able to connect as well with people, just
Hmm.
because of like a deep understanding that I felt like almost not in a superior way, but just like we were living in two different realities almost. Like,
Yeah.
because bhakti is like a way of life, just like 12 steps is a way of life. And when you merge the two, they coincide with each other, but other people who had other higher powers other than Krishna, they didn't have that merging of the two, and it was very difficult. It was also difficult because there's so many people who had been where I had been who just weren't doing the program and just going to meetings, and so you have all these people, all these different levels, and like I'm trying to be a good example, and I'm also trying to get something out of the meetings. I'm not just trying to add to the meetings. I also need some medicine, right? I'm not a doctor. I'm also a sickie. So I need to get my medicine,
I'm
and
sicky. I'm also a sicky.
yeah, man, like, so I need to
Yeah.
get well too. So like
Yeah.
it was for a while uncomfortable, but I knew I needed 12 steps. So I just kept going to one meeting a week. I kept meeting with my sponsor. I still meet with him once a week. Um, and like I said, I was listening to a lot of 12 step podcasts and speaker tapes and stuff like that. And that's how I came across the Bhakti Recovery group. Was your podcast had come on and as a suggestion, because I had been listening to so many Bhakti things and so many 12 step things. And then
That's
once
why
I
algorithm, that's where the
yeah,
algorithm is good, right?
yeah, totally. Yeah. And then I came to one meeting, and all of a sudden that fire for recovery was relit in me. And now I go to a meeting almost every day. If I don't go to a meeting, I don't like suffer because of it, but I miss the community of the BRG. I miss hearing what's going on with everyone, and it's like a little family. And I had that in AA at the start, but then as Bhakti started to become my other way of life too, and my way of living, it kind of just fizzled out. But I knew I needed this 12 step living. So the BRG was really another form of God's grace in my life.
Hmm. Oh, that's amazing. So, what would you say now? What would your what has merging these two things and then also having a space for that because this is super important. Having that space and the space that all of us at the Bhakti Recovery Group created. How how has that changed your life and how what do you like how do you feel that you could um in a few like yeah how do you think that that's changed your life? Has it given you a safe space? Do you feel like, oh my gosh, this was something that I really needed? Had you thought about it before, like, oh my gosh, there should be something like this, and then you realized, oh my
So,
gosh, there is something like this?
yeah, so I had thought about that, and I was actually trying to create my own Bhakti recovery group through Bhakti Marga. Actually, I was trying to write the 12 steps from like a Krishna conscious point of view, from a Bhakti centered point of view. I was trying to take the teachings of my guru and put them into alignment with the 12 steps. And because it was only me doing it and I had one other devotee who was trying to help me too, it was a lot of work and I couldn't get to it. And when I finally just laid it at like energetically laid it at my guru's feet and said, listen, I know that if this is supposed to happen, there'll be a way for it to happen. And I gave up control within a few days. That's when your podcast came across my screen. So I knew that that was also like God's grace in my life, right? So and and I knew that I needed it and I knew that it was needed, but I just didn't know that it existed, you know. And as soon as I attended, I I felt like there were so many layers of it that were so good because at the Bhakti Recovery Group, we don't just only deal with drugs and alcohol. We deal with all forms of addiction, eating disorders, gambling, uh, uh, adult children of alcoholics, all these anarthas and things that codependency, all these things that I also had within me that were not being addressed at the 12 step fellowships that I was attending. And when I came here, it gave me a bhakti lens that was more complete to look at the whole picture of all these things that were unhealthy within me and to be able to become more healthy on a complete level and to really look at these things like, you know, we have sexual meetings too, where
Sobriety.
like,
Yeah.
talk about things like that. And like in AA and in other 12 step uh, recovery groups, you know, one of the things that is usually a problem for a lot of men is, you know, the internet and pornography, right? And at the
If not 90%, then 99%.
yeah,
I know
exactly.
almost every man that I know in AA has a problem with pornography or sexual addiction in some form or another. I actually don't know any man who doesn't. Even the women.
Yes, yes. And so like, and even something like tobacco, right? Like,
Hmm.
and that was a problem. And these problems that I knew that were part of my story that just weren't being addressed, and I couldn't apply the 12 steps in, or I didn't know how, or I didn't want to, whatever it was. When I came to the BRG, all of a sudden now it's all out on the table. Let's look at this whole picture. Let's get all this out, right? And then I had these
Take it
people.
higher. Let's take it higher.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Let's go from the ground up and build a really firm foundation because I feel like before I came to the BRG, I had a foundation, but it was only one or two bricks. And then after looking at all the associated behaviors I had in the BRG, now I have a real foundation that's like, 20 feet by 20 feet and, 2 feet off the ground. And like I can build a house on, not just like a couple bricks. A couple bricks
Yeah,
will save your life when you're in quicksand, right?
yeah, it's true. If that does it, does brick save your life in quicksand?
I don't know, but you get what I'm saying. You get what
Oh,
I
it's
mean.
I'm like trying to imagine that scenario in my with my head. Quicksand, and you have like two bricks in your hand. You're like, okay.
You get what I'm
Um,
saying. It's something to stand on though, right? Like
yeah,
when your world is shaky. But now
yeah.
I can run around and like, I have a real foundation.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so glad that the Bhakti Recovery Group could do that. That's the reason why this is the reason why I think we're growing so much is because we really do have that. And I think we're such a close-knit community. Um, I I just have had so many I mean, but it's like everywhere else, it's like any AA meeting or NA meeting or it's like it's not like 100% roses all the time. There are going to
Oh,
be like
no.
people showing up and disrupting the meeting sometimes. There's always that. People come and people go. Some people commit and some people don't commit, and some people do their steps, and some people want to be sponsors, and some people don't donate, and some people donate, and some people offer service, and some people don't. We have a huge variety, which
Yeah.
makes, go ahead.
Just well, I was thinking about it. So since I've been in the BRG, I've had the honor of sponsoring three different members. And like
Oh,
you say, people come and people go. Two of those members, they don't come anymore, and one of them that I'm sponsoring now, it does come regularly. And um, it's like, as a member, I do my best to try to help people. And I just have to remember that just like in other 12 step things, I'm not doing it. I'm a channel for Krishna to come through and to give those people what they need. And it's up to them if they accept it or not. And,
exactly.
it, but it can be, it can be a little bit more heartbreaking when the people stop coming because the BRG deals with such a vast array of things and such a complete picture of the illness that we're actually in. uh the bonds that you make while doing these step work with these people are very intimate. So it's more like I lost my friends to the disease than
Mm,
a member of a group. Whereas like in AA, when I sponsored people, if they went back out, I didn't know them as well. It just there's
yeah,
AA is such a bigger thing. I feel like the connections I make at the BRG are just so much
deeper.
deeper. Yeah, so much deeper.
Yeah, they are deeper. I mean, like in a regular AA program, they'll be like, all right, buddy, sit down, go to meetings, go to 90 and 90, get a sponsor, shut up, do the steps, and we're going to get through this. And then it's like, if you do it, you do. If you don't, you don't. And I think at the BRG, we're practicing Krishna consciousness. We're reading scriptures every day together. We are growing as a community. Everybody kind of knows a little bit what's going on with the other person. Well, actually, that's not true either. We have so much privacy as well. It's really a good mix. I don't feel like everyone's business is out there. I think it's
Yeah,
perfect.
no, I feel like the reason I connect so deeply with the people is because of what happens outside of the meetings. It's because of the connections I make with them outside of the meetings. And you're right, I
Yeah.
don't know what's going on with everyone, but I also know that if I needed someone, they would be willing to talk to me or anything like that. Um,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
people that I
Yeah.
do talk to, it's on a very just deep level because there's no wall. I'm not putting up any wall. I'm not leaving anything out. So when I get a complete picture, with more completeness comes more depth.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, um, experiencing that, especially, there's here's another something I wanted to bring up also. Because we do deal with the vast, all of the isms, but we deal with every ism, all the isms. We have a meeting for almost every ism. And hold on, excuse me.
Bless you.
Excuse me. Thank you. It's getting allergy season. Anyway, a lot of people come in and a lot of people are really ready to look at all of that stuff, and it can be super overwhelming. Like, oh my God, I'm not only a recovering addict, I'm a codependent, I'm an adult child. I've got this and I've got that, and I've got all these anartas and all of these things. And then it becomes super overwhelming. However, I always encourage people to take just one program with what they identify as. If someone says, like, okay, I came here crawling on my knees because I drank too much, then work the AA program with the Bhakti lens, with someone who's a Bhakti practitioner, who has done the 12 steps, who's willing to be your sponsor, and do the recovery of that one program that you may identify with the most.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because the people that I've sponsored, they also had the same addictions as me to drugs and alcohol. And when I worked with them, I would use the big book and then use the Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam. I would do just like we do at the meetings, and not try to look at everything because when people are in early recovery, like you're saying, we need to focus on that one thing to kind of get the biggest roadblock out of the way, and then we'll worry about the rest
Exactly.
of
Set
get
the
there.
mood, just like in the Gita. Set the
Yes.
scene. We're setting the mood now. And the second, like in the second chapter, here's the dilemma. Here's what we're going with, and then I learned,
Bring them out into the middle of the battlefield and look at everything. And then
yeah,
we're gonna get rid of this one first because this is the one that's the biggest, right?
exactly. Exactly. It's just so important. It's so important. And that's why we have all these meetings because, a codependent will naturally, drift to another codependent in recovery to have codependent recovery. I've had people who have asked me to sponsor them and, I've done all the 12 steps in ACA and AA and NA and in CODA. And I I don't particularly, I love Coda, but I don't particularly like sponsoring in Coda, and I don't identify as a codependent in that way. So often I'll just say, please ask somebody who works a Coda program generally, who finds their recovery through the Coda literature. And that's why we need as many people as possible because people come to us with so many different, so many different isms. We have to start somewhere. It's good that you did that though. Intuitively we do that. We can't like sponsor someone in a program that we haven't worked on. Although all the 12 steps are the same in every program. You just switch out the ism, you know.
Yes, yes. The most rewarding, I don't know if rewarding is the word, but the coolest thing I guess that's happened to me in the BRG is one of the people that I'm sponsoring. They have more time than me, sober, but they don't have as much bhakti experience. And that's one thing that the BRG gives too, is for people who have been in recovery in 12-step communities, but want to learn about Krishna. They want to learn about Krishna consciousness and and bhakti.
Hmm.
He said, "Hey," I said, what do you hope to get out of working with me?" And he said, "I don't really know. I'm trying to stay non-detached. I have no expectations." And then the next time we met, he said, "You know what? You asked me what I want to get. I want to get a relationship with Krishna like you have." And I just thought that
Ah,
that was the coolest thing because, like, here's somebody that I would never think that I had anything to offer to in a 12-step community, but because of the bhakti and because of the knowledge of bhakti and the way I live my life, this person with more sobriety time than me is trying to learn from me. And I learn just like any sponsor relationship. I learn so much from him too. It's not like I'm just a teacher. I'm just a vessel for Krishna to use, and I'm learning just as much. So, but that was one thing that I thought was very, very just special about some of these relationships I've had with people in the BRG.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I'm so glad that you're in this community, and we really welcome people to come in and find out and see what it's like, and keep an open mind and give yourself a break, as we say in the BR in NA.
Yeah, one thing that I would like to tell anybody who's listening to is that I personally, like I said, I come from Bhakti Marga, which is a different Vaishnava organization, and for some people who might not be affiliated um, with ISKCON, because a lot of the members of BRG are affiliated with ISKCON, they don't want to come because they feel like it's an ISKCON project or something like that. And I'm telling you from personal experience, it is not that, and that like they're open to any person. You don't even have to be a Vaishnava. You can just be someone who just wants to learn a different way of looking at God. You don't have to subscribe to what we're teaching anything or right like, but the
Yep.
BRG opens the door for you to make these relationships, and at the level of a devotee to a devotee, it doesn't matter who your guru is or what lineage you're a part of or anything, what your tilak looks like, nothing. Because the devotee, you know, same thing as when I go to any temple, like the devotee to devotee relationship, there's no drama, there's no baggage, and there's just connection. So I invite anyone who might be like questioning, is this a place for me? Could I go there? I'm not part of this. The BRG is not that, and just come and experience it. And like, there's something, if you're questioning it, just come and see for yourself. Because for me, it was such a vital tool to my transformation.
Thanks, Prananath. That's wonderful. Yeah. Our preamble says, Bhakti 12 steps, we uh are oh shoot, how come I can't remember? I wrote that preamble. Uh um yeah, it's so important that we
I think it says all inclusive 12-step bhakti oriented fellowship.
that brings together people who share their experience, strength, and hope. That's it. That's it. You know, our doors. But it's clear what we do. We read two things in each meeting. We read 12-step literature of various types, and we read Bhakti literature, everything from Prabhupada that was ever written, all of the books from the Gaudiya Vaishnava lineage, and anything that's Bhakti oriented. And Krishna curious people are welcome. Krishna conscious people are welcome. The Gaudiya Mat's welcome. ISKCON's welcome. Bhakti Marj is welcome. Anyone is welcome. We have to remember that our main purpose is Bhakti and 12 steps. That's the main, that's keeping the main thing,
Yes.
you
And
know?
for me too, one thing that I always try to remember is that like as I've gotten more mature in my bhakti, I can hear the message of my guru through any guru's teachings. So the fact that we read Prabhupada's books for clarity and for just to not get the philosophy mixed, because each teacher gives a different philosophy. Like I don't
Mm,
I don't hear anything wrong in them. I can feel the grace of my guru coming through even
that's
Prabhupada's
beautiful.
books, if that makes sense.
That's so beautiful. That's, but see, this is true. This is true. And this is true. This is the absolute truth speaking. When we can see the teachings of our guru in truthful, bona fide literature then we are just in the right place. The Bhakti Recovery Group is an all-inclusive 12-step Bhakti-oriented fellowship that brings together people who share their experience, strength, and hope as it relates to finding freedom from various addictions, anarthas, and associated behaviors. And the only requirement for membership is the desire for recovery. That's what our primary purpose is. It's to stay in this process of recovery. And how? Through the 12 steps and the practice of Bhakti Yoga. So we carry this message in loving service to others who are struggling with their addictions, anarthas, and associated behaviors. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also important too that to state that not everyone who goes to the BRG is struggling either, but we know that there's a path that God has laid out for us to get better, and we have to stay on that path. And it did involve
Mhm.
12 steps. So, like, this is just like it's the way to stay within our dharmic duties and give back what was so freely given to us, but also to stay
Yes.
true to bhakti.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, Prananath, it was so nice to have you. I'm
Thank you.
so
Thank you.
I'm so happy you came. I'm so happy that you came into our lives at the Bhakti Recovery Group. You are an absolute positive, amazing addition to our community. Um, we really appreciate you and appreciate all of your willingness. You're like the one who's always willing to do service, and you have a busy life. So
Thank you.
I love,
I try.
yeah, I love to see that. And also, just for people who don't know, we are having a retreat soon in August. It will be August 29th and 30th? No, 28th, 29th, 30th. I'm sorry, guys. It's on our website. You can go to our website and look at it. It will be in upstate New York at Super Soul Farm. Go to www.bhaktirecoverygroup.com under events and you'll find it. If online is not your thing and you want to just get to know who we are, please show up to the great to our retreat. It's going to be a weekend retreat. Prananath, I hope he's going to be there. You'll be there, right, Prananath?
Yes, I'll be there. I'll be there. Yep.
Prananath's coming. A bunch of us are going to come, and it's going to be a great weekend. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'll also be in LA in August, at the beginning of August, for the first 2 weeks in the Los Angeles area. If anyone's listening, reach out. You can reach out to Bhakti Recovery Podcast at gmail.com. You can do that too. Anyway, I love you guys. I love all of you guys out there. And Prananath, again, thank you. And Haribol to everyone.
You too.
Hare Krishna.
All right, well,